Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 4Y podcast. This is episode 6. We've made it to 6. Yes, you can count that on your fingers. 2 hands, actually. So we're killing that over here. We got everybody back today. We have Kent making his epic return after the week that he missed.
What's up, guys?
He very much missed listening to the banter, even though I'm sure he totally listened to the episode in his personal time from last week.
Of course, yeah.
Of course. We got everybody's favorite Flinchum, Blake.
What's up, guys?
And we got everybody's favorite Austin. That's not Austin Dillon. Austin.
Hola.
¿Cómo está? Nah. Of course, as always, follow us on the socials at 4Wide. We have a Facebook page now. It's interlocked with the Instagram page. So all you Facebook normies can finally go to the Facebook page and see what we post on Instagram. So good. I didn't want to do it, but I did it anyways.
You're getting a twofer.
That's right. Get to see both sides, the good side and the bad side. I'll let you determine which one's which. And of course, that's spelled Fourwide and not the number 4. And boys, let's recap Phoenix. All right. So I didn't put the ARCA race on here, and we will talk about it, but that was very much an interesting finish, and I think there's some direct comparisons that we can make with the 2 other finishes that we had this weekend. So for the Xfinity Series, we had the GovX 200, fairly new sponsor. I don't think they've sponsored a race that I can remember before.
No, they just became, it's like the official government ID thing of NASCAR or whatever it is, right? But they just came on about a month ago.
So it's always good to see a new sponsor in NASCAR. It's always a good thing.
For sure.
We need it. So the entire purse was about $1.6 million. It's a decent Xfinity race, I feel like. 14 lead changes among 5 drivers and 6 cautions for 46 laps. Had a little variety in there. He's had some lead changes, and you had a couple of cautions and whatnot, and noticeable finishes. P1, you had Eric Almirola getting the win. P2, you had Alex Bowman driving that 17 car for Hendrick, so that was a good finish for him. P3, you had Brandon Jones. Fantastic finish for Brandon Jones, especially after last week. I gave him a little bit of like, he done. Just, that sometimes, I know he didn't listen to the podcast, but sometimes just throwing stuff out to the universe will throw it back in your face. So I'm going to take that as what that was.
He's got you to thank, buddy.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You gave him the shot in the arm he needed.
That's right.
And he didn't even hear it. It's just,
you gave him what Menards couldn't.
Oh my gosh. Okay. A P4, Ryan Sieg, that was a fantastic finish for him. I have a little anecdote for him. P5, Justin Allgaier, man. Talk about someone that just got absolutely ripped. Had the best car all weekend long, honestly. P6, you had Taylor Gray. Back-to-back good weeks for him. His Daytona race didn't go real well, so it's good to see his performing really good in that car. P7, Sam Mayer. P8, Christian Eckes. P9, Jesse Love. That's kind of a struggle for Jesse Love. He's fantastic at Phoenix, and it's not exactly the finish that you'd expect for him, but all right, P10, we have Sanchez. Very impressive race for him. Parker Resloff, P11. Josh Williams, P12. Finally.
He was sick, too, this weekend.
Terrible weather conditions in general most of the time. I believe it was actually chilly that night. So,
yeah, it was chilly, I know, for the ARCA race. I saw people, like how we dressed up at Bowman Gray back in February. That's how they were out there.
Yeah, so. P36, man, you had Sheldon Creed, and P37, you had Austin Hill. Austin Hill just was not paying attention and took out probably one of the best cars at Phoenix. Also, Austin's pick this week. I want to see Sheldon Creed win, too, so I would have been okay with Sheldon Creed winning. I really want to see him be successful. It just seems he gets caught up in the stupidest crap sometimes.
Typical Austin Hill.
My boy.
Can't race on anything but a super speedway.
And a road course.
Occasionally.
Xfinity fastest lap, number 7. Got it on lap 102.
Bill Gator.
So, got that extra point in the bag. Going to need it for the 5 positions that he lost on that last lap. But that's basically it. So here we go. I feel like the first thing we need to talk about is Justin Allgaier. How you have to be gutted if you're Allgaier or Junior Motorsports, because he was clearly the best car. And come to that restart, it very much looked like he was going to win the race anyways. But before the caution flag, he was guaranteed to win that race. There ain't nobody catching him. Man was sailing the wind, not even looking in the mirror. He's probably driving with his feet. I mean, he's moved on. He's gone. And then that caution comes out with, I think it was Nick Lentz in the 05 or the 07. I can't remember which one. But pretty much set him up for disaster on that restart. When you have a overtime restart in the Xfinity Series, this is about what you freaking expect now.
Especially at Phoenix when you're going 6 wide into the Dog-Legge.
So, just what was your overall interpretations of Justin Allgaier's day? I mean, in general.
He ran that race, I mean, about as good as you can and put himself in a position to win. And then just, man, that last restarts are brutal at Phoenix. You know, everyone knows the stereotype, the 5-6 wide, you know, trying to be the first to get through the bottleneck into the corner there in turn one. A lot of times you find out that momentum in the high lane is what's going to get it. And I can't remember exactly what he did. I can't remember if he overdrove it or if he got tight or loose off the corner. All I know is he did not have the momentum going down the backstretch, and you just saw him just dropping. And so it was hard to watch. You know, I believe I picked Allgaier, and so I was really pulling for him, and I thought, oh, he's got it. And then, you know, the Kent Brown curse was not done for the day. So, yeah, I mean, like you said, you got to be gutted. The guy ran a great race. Couldn't do anything better other than one last restart that he shouldn't have had to make. Got put in a position where you have to, and came up short.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be gutted for the guy, right? Guy had the race in the bag, and then, you know how NASCAR is. You have a big lead, and then all of a sudden some bottom tier car gets into the wall or spins out, and then, you know, then re-rack them and do it again. And I think any other track, he probably wins the race. But because it's Phoenix and because you're going 6 wide into the Dog-Legge, as Kent said, going into the bottleneck, that's what screwed him over.
So, I'm going to tell you what, guys. I'm obviously wearing my gear today. So, I feel like I obviously need to wait to talk last in this regard. So I want to throw it to Austin first, because I think Austin's got the perspective that is the alternative perspective about this finish. And go ahead, Austin.
Well, I don't think that Almirola meant to drive Bowman into the fence. I got no issue with guys bumping and banging to the finish line. I mean, that's what we want to see in NASCAR. We don't want to see somebody get fenced, but I don't think that's what Almirola was going for. I mean, if you're driving to win a race, yeah, you're going to try to use somebody up sometimes, but I don't think dooring him into the fence was what he had intended to do. But clearly, you see him get really loose going into that tri-oval. You see him, you can look through the windshield and see them hands are just working like crazy. His car fishtails out, and then he just goes up and collects Bowman into the mess. So, you know, was it intentional? Probably. But I don't think he did that with the intention of putting him into the wall like he did. That's just my perspective.
All right, Kent, I want to throw it to you, because I hadn't heard much from you about this yet.
Yeah, so someone like, which first of all, I know we're going to talk about the end of the Cup race later, but I think Christopher Bell showed how to do this the right way without saying any more about that right now. Almirola, and I've always liked the guy. I've always... you know, when I found out he was going to be running for Gibbs, I wished the guy success. I want to see him kind of be able to end his career on a high note. And so a good driver, let me rephrase this, a veteran driver. He's a good driver, right? But he's no doubt a veteran. By the time you get to the last lap, you know what the boundaries of your car are. So in practice or in qualifying, if you're Alex Bowman, right, because he got super loose, you push your car to the limits. You find what your limits are. If you don't figure it out there, you figure it out in the early stages of the race. So, you know, and it's hard to explain, but like you just know when it's going to step out on you. How far can I push this thing until it steps out on me? And Almirola knew. And so to Austin's point, I think the contact was 100% intentional. He does not have a chance unless he tries to drag him back, slow him down, disrupt his momentum. But you also saw him absolutely sawing that wheel. I don't think he meant to just absolutely knock him through the wall. I don't think that was intentional one bit. I think he knew that he was going to lose control of his car right there. He knew, I say lose control, I mean, he wheeled it, right? But I think he knew that it was going to get loose. He knew. That's why he was prepared for it, hanging onto the wheel. I don't think he meant to sling Bowman into the wall. And I think, most importantly, if he had it to do over again, I don't think he changes a thing. I don't think he changes an absolute thing about that. He got the checkered flag at the end of the day, and he's happy. Was it the cleanest move ever? No. Is it what a veteran probably should have done who's trying to show Xfinity drivers, the clean way? Probably not, but it happened, and, you can only, now it's just history. You can only do so much about it. He's not going to regret it because he won. So it is what it is.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I almost feel like personally just when I watch it, the dude's 3 or 4 lanes up before he's sawing the wheel, before he's, fishtailing, whatever you want to say, right? So to me, I think what took me off guard was it was so out of character for Eric Almirola. Most of your Gibbs guys, with the respect like he's got, usually don't really do that. And so I don't know. To me, it looked like a cheap shot. When you fence somebody, I think a better example of what to do is like when Hemrick beat Cindric that year for the championship. I don't think he fenced Cindric, but they're beating and banging the line. You've got a great finish, and heck yeah, fans all for that. But to me, what Almirola did just looked like a blatant cheap shot, in my opinion. I'm all for beating and banging, fun finishes and whatnot, but it just looked like out of character. I didn't appreciate it.
That's just short track racing.
Yeah. You expect it maybe from truck guys and maybe Hocevar from 2 or 3 years ago, right? But not Almirola. I didn't enjoy that personally. I was rooting for Bowman to win too, so maybe there was a little bit of bias there, but I don't know. It seemed you've got 2 Cup guys putting each other into the wall into the lower series, and I was just like, that ain't your best look there, Chief.
I think the thing that really off-put it for me is the way that Eric coming out of the car in his interview just be like, yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I won, I honestly don't have a lot of animosity towards Eric Almirola. I met him a couple times. His kids and his family are great. And it's good that he has his family at the racetrack and they're supporting him and seeing these wins where they're old enough where they can remember. He didn't win entirely a lot in that Stewart-Haas car. He won a couple dual races, New Hampshire, but Stewart-Haas in general struggled, especially for those later years. So it's good to see him getting in good equipment and performing where I feel like he should. I feel like this is where it almost feels like his Cup career was a waste in a way. And I don't mean that with ill intention by saying that. That's just with the equipment that he was given, it just didn't feel like he was able to maximize it to the potential.
Kind of reminds me of like Elliott Sadler a little bit.
Yeah.
He found some redemption in the Xfinity series a little bit.
I went back and watched the race after the fact. Let me just throw this out here. I know no one's listening to this network, but CW, please put the broadcast on your app, please.
Yes.
And can I add to that?
Yeah,
yes, please.
Add to it.
Throwing it to the Atlanta affiliate for the Hawks game. Right after the words are said, this is the final lap of the race. Not the best move.
They released a statement about it.
They did?
Yeah, I haven't read it, but they released a statement about... Because apparently there was a lot of last lap cutouts.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm watching the race, right? I didn't even see this finish until probably 20 minutes later. I'm on Twitter. I'm like, CW, they posted, they're like, what a finish. And I'm like, it'd be sick if you posted it because we didn't see it. And so I thought it happened to everybody. And then I looked at my dad because I'm watching it over there at his place. We were doing something for his birthday. And so we're watching it. And then they cut to commercial. And I'm like, this is a joke. This isn't real. This is not what in the world. And so I look at him and he's mid, he's got his cake, right? And he's just like, and I was like, they didn't just do that. And he goes, I think they did. And we rewound it and we watched it again. And I was like, what am I missing? Why did they cut? And so that's probably one of the most frustrating experiences I've ever had watching a race.
That's like, bases loaded, game 7 of the World Series. The pitcher goes into his windup, power goes out.
And then we missed the Grand Slam because here we got this incredible side-by-side finish.
Second closest finish in Xfinity Series at Phoenix.
Yeah. I mean, just incredible finish of a race. And then I'm sitting here going, it would have been sick to see. But oh well. So, and then I just see all these posts, Almirola oars Bowman into the fence to win it. And I'm like, what did I miss? And then I'm thinking, oh, Bull is mad. But anyway,
I feel like I handled myself
race
in a pretty calm manner because I sat back and thought about it. And I even went back and watched the race because I couldn't watch the race live because the app sucks. You got a battle camera that's showing a battle for 11th and 12th when there's a 3-wide battle for the lead. Like, what are we doing? If
they're figuring this out, I think the important thing is too, their analysts are great. I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, hey, Parker buddy, we support you on this podcast. We talk about how much we like you. We want you to win the Roval race that you didn't win, and we want you to win that truck race that they took away from you. But please talk to somebody at CW so that we can watch the race on the app and not have to watch this battle camera with no commentary, watching 18th and 19th battle while there's a 3-wide contention for the lead. I mean,
dude, if my cable wasn't connected to my zip code, I would share my password with you just so you could watch it through my live TV.
So that's the thing is I have Direct and I can't watch it through Direct. I can watch it on the TV, but I don't have a TV in my room. And when I'm doing stuff where I can't multitask, there's only one TV in the house and most time it's being used. So therefore I'm watching this battle camera. So,
well, what used to drive me crazy too was like when y'all remember on the NASCAR app it used to have NASCAR Drive.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be the same thing on the battle cams. You'd be listening to the radio and there's this epic battle for the lead and they're showing 18th. I'm like, give me a break. So, and then you go to the aerial view and then the race is already done. I get it, man. I mean, oh yeah, I'm going to wait to rant later.
That's fair. But in regards to the finish, so we've talked about the Richmond race and how Austin Dillon went to that final corner and he knew that he wasn't going to make that corner, but he didn't throttle off. And we criticized that. I feel like it's almost the same deal. Now, not to the same degree because he didn't take out 2 cars at the same start. But, like, Almirola went into that corner as hard as he did knowing that he wasn't going to be able to control that car to Kent's point. He knew that car was going to be loose. Now, did he know what degree of looseness that car was going to be? No, he didn't. But it really didn't feel like he was making a racing move. It felt like more or less he was making a move to win the race, if that makes sense. That wasn't egregious by any means. I've seen worse. I've seen a lot worse. But when you have 2 former Cup guys, well, 1 former Cup guy who had, how many, was it 3 wins or 4 wins that Almirola had?
3. You had
New Hampshire,
Talladega 2018, and then Daytona 2014.
The duel, right?
No,
you can't forget the duel.
Summer race. So if
you
you throw in the
Rainstorm
duels,
summer race, I believe.
Yeah, you throw in the duels, I think 5 total. Yeah.
And then you have Bowman, who's won, I think, 9 races in his career in the Cup level. He won 1 Xfinity race. When you got drivers like Brandon Jones, which Brandon Jones is a veteran, but you got younger people up in the field, you want to set the example. And I felt like Eric didn't set a really good example. I don't feel like in the ARCA series, I don't feel like, obviously it wasn't Butterbean. It was the Joe Gibbs car. Again, ironically, that put Butterbean, that was more egregious to me. That man was not making the corner. And that man knew he was going to door the frick out of Butterbean.
Well, and I think not to criticize your driver, but Bowman did leave a little bit of too much room going into turn 3.
But he's a clean driver. It was Jamie McMurray that said Bowman would have done the exact same thing. And I'm like, there's no way Alex Bowman would have ever made that move. He may have adored him. He might have side drafted him, but he wouldn't have got that loose. If he did, he would have throttled down and probably finished in 4th or 5th.
I don't think the other guy's car is going to have blue paint on it from the wall.
So as a Bowman fan, I was very disappointed. As a race fan, I was kind of disappointed because I felt like it was a great finish, but it was like an asterisk finish almost in a way. It was like, yeah, it was a great finish, but also it wasn't like clean, good finish. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the same thing with the ARCA series. But then you got the Cup guys, putting a show on the last lap. And we'll talk about that. But yeah, it was a gutting experience for me. I only cried about 2 buckets of tears.
All weekend.
All weekend, yeah.
Well, Almirola almost costed himself the win. If the start-finish line would have been 25 yards, Brandon Jones would have easily been your winner.
And that would have been a big win for Brandon Jones.
Yeah.
That'd be a momentum-changing win.
Almost killed his own chances by doing that, too. I was like, where's the third-place car at here? Because looks like that might play a factor.
Well, and earlier in the race, do y'all remember that Almirola got into Jones?
No, I don't.
He about spun him. Yeah.
Taking no
Teammates.
prisoners.
Especially rough that it's a former full-time Cup guy turning the guy who's running for points.
Yep. And then, of course, you have on that restart, it's more on Allgaier, I think, because he did get loose, but Eric did not leave him any room either. And that's the reason that Alex was able to split the middle.
Incredible move, by the way. Just absolutely incredible move.
Great move.
That's like a once-in-a-lifetime kind of deal thing. You don't see those moves, and I'm not saying skill-wise, that's just like everything lined up for him. All the cars even enough and whatnot. Go ahead.
By the way, that 4-wide pass was done cleanly.
We like 4-wide passes.
Yeah.
At the 4-wide podcast. Yeah, I think Kent has a mention of the CW statement if he wants to share that real quick.
Yeah, so I was curious on whether or not they would admit that this was a mistake or they would say, all right, our local affiliates get, prioritized here. But essentially, just to summarize it, they acknowledged it was a mistake. They said our Peachtree TV affiliate in Atlanta has acknowledged the mistake and prematurely ending the coverage of yesterday's NASCAR Xfinity Series race, and we have been assured that this will not happen again. And so I think this is part of, hey, look, we're trying to explain to our affiliates what, what's most important, what gets the nod here. And so, and right now, it better be NASCAR. Look, I'm sorry, but I would much rather watch the lower division of NASCAR race than the Atlanta Hawks, and it's just not even close. Anyways.
3-point simulator.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, but yeah, so that's what I was curious about. Would they do this again? Would they say, well, that wasn't a mistake. It's just the way that it is. Sorry, it had to be that way. Or would they say, no, this won't happen again? So I'm encouraged to hear that it's not going to happen again, because sometimes these platforms, they're just kind of like, well, nope, Hawks get dibs for that time slot. So it ends when it ends. So it was cool to hear that won't be the case anymore.
I did want to shout out Sanchez has had a fantastic start to the season. And I was very skeptical when he moved up. I didn't know if it was going to really translate because he was a really good truck driver. And I felt maybe another year would have really seasoned, but he's been really good for that 48 car. He's been put pretty good finishes in, especially filling in for a driver like Kligerman, turning out some pretty good finishes so far this year. So what have you guys thought about Sanchez's? Still early in the season, but it's been a little bit of variety here, and he's been showing he's pretty confident at all these tracks so far.
The consistency's been really good, like you said, right? Because Parker pretty much established himself in that car he was beating out people like Riley Herbst and some big-time Xfinity teams for a playoff spot. So he did have really, really big shoes to fill, and the consistency's there. And it's only going to come with time before he's going to get just a little bit better, and then consistent top 3s, top 4s, and eventually a win's going to come to him.
What about you, Kent? You have anything to include about Sanchez's performance so far this year?
So, we know that when Parker's in that car, it's a top dog, it's in contention. And, I haven't really seen anything. Sometimes when you get a new guy in a car that's been running at the front, you're really quick to make a judgment of whether or not, man, should they be in that car? Is the car reaching its potential? Is the driver reaching their potential? And I've thought, he's kind of, I don't want to say exceeded expectations. I think that there's still more on the table for him to go get. But at the same time, he's been running well. And so hasn't really been one of those things where I look up and go, man, the 48's at the back this week. That car used to be at the front. What's going on? So I think he's, for a rookie campaign, I think he's going to do all right.
Go ahead, Austin.
I think he's good. We know he showed good promise and good talent in the truck series, and I'm not surprised at all to see it carrying over so far this year into his Xfinity ride. He's got a decent ride. I'm excited to see how he does with a little more variety, getting added in with some 1.5 miles coming up, and see where he goes from there.
And it's not been done without animosity either for the car. I mean, they've had a lot of, there was one race, I can't remember if it was Atlanta or Daytona, but his car was absolutely fricked up. Like, it was bad. It wasn't like Christian's Eckes bad, but it was pretty bad. I'm pretty sure it was Atlanta. I feel like it was. There was all kinds of duct tape and bear bond and all kinds of good stuff on there. So, some nice accessories on that hood. I mean, the Austin Hill and Sheldon Creed accident was kind of I feel like it was a race altering thing, because I really do feel like Sheldon Creed had the speed to at least compete for a win. I mean, that was showcased in qualifying, and he did drop out that top 5, but I still felt like he had speed, and it got shuffled towards the back, and he got into an accident that, in all honesty, shouldn't have happened. I mean, it was a lapse in judgment, and it took out 2 cars that are fantastic cars for the whole week, because Jesse Love even showed that RCR had speed at Phoenix. But any thoughts about what happened? Because I was watching the good old battle cam when this happened. So,
Whose exact battle cam were you on at that time?
it's a in general battle cam.
I got you.
It's like a helicopter view.
Okay, I got you. I'm surprised, honestly, that what happened there actually hasn't happened at that track more, because the way that the wall comes out, since they've reconfigured it, especially for the infield stuff and pit road, like, it's really close to where you're having to kind of start your arc into the corner. I'm surprised that hasn't happened more. Some guys just getting desperate and trying to go for it and just ricocheting like a 90-degree angle.
I wasn't watching at the time, but
Sure,
I'm
either.
getting the vibe that he on entry into 3 just clipped that wall essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's
paying attention.
Yeah, and if you're following in a tight line with the car in front of you, and again, I really hadn't seen that wreck, I could see how that would be easy to do. So yeah, I wonder too how that hasn't happened more frequently. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing more than a lapse in judgment when you do that. You got to know what the boundaries of the track are, and especially when there's a boundary as costly as that.
Not clear.
He did come out. I mean, to Austin Hill's credit, he did come out and
He owned it.
yeah, he owned it. And if y'all remember, Austin Hill and Sheldon Creed hadn't always had a great past. Y'all remember that at Martinsville?
I mean, why is it Martinsville that always ends up with teammates going after it? You got Brandon Jones and Ty Gibbs screwing each other out, and I mean, it's always something.
Yeah, given the past that's been there with him, because I mean, I think he even broke like switching a team news earlier than what it should have been, how bad the blood got. But he owned up, so I appreciated that from him. He owned up, and I don't think it'll happen from him again by any means. I think he'll get better from it and just get better.
I mean, and you also got, you got turn 3 and 4 and turn 1, totally polar opposite. You got the Dog-Legge.
Yeah.
And then you got such a short wall on that other side. I'm sure it's very tough as a driver. So
I don't know where the sun is at for that track, but
It's
you
in the
know
sky.
that.
in the
It's in the sky.
No, I know that, you idiots.
got him.
But I don't know if you are facing the sun going down the back stretch or on the Dog-Legge, but I almost wonder if the sun's just at that right spot.
In the sky.
Yeah, right in the sky.
Where it needs to be. If it moves 1 inch to the left or 1 inch to the right, we're all screwed.
Maybe that's what happened.
Oh boy. All right. Last thing I have on the docket for the Xfinity series is I did want to talk about Ryan Sieg, because he had a top 5 in a backup car. And if you guys don't know, in the Xfinity series now, the backup cars you can't have prepared at, ready to go at the track. They had to do that all at the track. Essentially, from what I understood, especially from the broadcast, is that they went into their garage and they somehow fricked the car up. They weren't able to use the car that they drove at the track for qualifying and practice, so therefore had to go to a backup car. And they actually, all the Ford teams were pitching in to be able to get this backup car together. I mean, this car was all black. It was not paint schemed out. And he was able to drive it from the back to get a top 5 finish.
Mm-hmm.
that talks a lot about what kind of quality race cars that not necessarily just they can build as a team, but in general as Ford brought to the track. Of course, Toyota ended up winning the race, and the Chevrolet was right beside of them. But being able to build a car goes from the back to the front like that, it was less than a day, obviously. It's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, and given, too, that Ford really doesn't have a lot of teams in the Xfinity Series. Now that Viking switched to Chevrolet, I think 6 or 7 cars are Fords now. I don't really know why they're so scarce, but I think it shows even more to your point, right, Cole, that if you got so little, but they did so much with it. Really impressive.
It's 5. I think you said 7. It's 5.
Wow. I didn't know it.
I mean, I just counted. I was looking at the manufacturers, and it's 5. And so, I've actually got a guy in my church. I may have told you all this before, who's related to the Siegs. So, I don't know. Maybe there'd be some sort of connection there, but no. I mean, that's impressive, and you got to wonder. I don't know who becomes the top dog in the Xfinity Series when it turns. When it comes to Ford's resources, would you say that that's still Haas factory team, or what would y'all say?
I mean,
Say Haas, yeah.
I feel like it's close. I feel like it's either them or it's Sieg's team, because Sieg's been with Ford for a while now, and they had really good performances last year. I mean, he was, I don't know how many inches away from winning the race at Texas.
Like a 16th of an inch. I mean, it was crazy.
I mean, I hate it for him, but it's also good to see him performing real well, and I feel like that win is on that horizon. It's going to be coming for too long.
It's going to be awesome when Sieg wins, man.
I'd like to see Kyle Sieg run a little bit better, but I mean,
yeah,
it's just, it seems like Ryan's just week in, week out. It doesn't matter the track he's in there in the top 10, top 15 at least, for a team that's not got, limited resources and not North Carolina based either. So
yeah, I like what you said there, because I think if Ryan had a teammate that ran consistently where he did, I think it would help push both of them to be better. Sadly, it's not the case, but it would be cool to see. It's kind of cool to think about the what if that were the case.
But it's also cool to see, 2 family members racing together and just being, kind of loyal.
Yeah.
That's a rarity these days.
That is true. That is true.
You don't see it anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe at your local dirt tracks, your local asphalt tracks, but you don't see it at the higher levels. So that's pretty cool. Well, I feel like that's going to be it for the Xfinity Series. I feel like we beat that horse enough, and we'll move on to the Cup. The Shriners Children's 500, $11 million in this pot, 17 lead changes between 6 drivers, and 10 cautions for 73 laps. A few more cautions than the Xfinity Series. So, I mean, it's kind of nice because I use the template for every week for the podcast, and I've not had to change P1 in the last few weeks. That's been pretty nice. Just leave it be. Christopher Bell pulls it off, absolutely dominated Phoenix. The only thing, my mind goes to Kyle Larson at Bristol last year in the fall. That's what it felt like. It just felt like no one had anything for him at all. It don't matter what kind of tires they put on things. They could put drag radials on, you probably still won the race. So, Denny Hamlin, Toyota teammate at JGR, P2. Kyle Larson, P3. It's usually a pretty good track for Larson. Not necessarily the best track for him, but he does fairly well. P4, Josh Berry. What a fantastic recovery from that I think it was a loose lug early on a pit stop. Had to drop out of that top 10 and drove all the way back up, and he's just showing that he deserves that ride.
It's nice to see the Wood brothers relevant again, and I mean that's no disrespect to Harrison Burton. Love seeing them get their 100th win, but just on a more consistent basis, man, I love seeing the Wood brothers do great, because they deserve it. I mean, that's as NASCAR gets from a team, right? As blue collars it gets is your Wood brothers. And seeing a local short track driver like a Josh Berry be with them, to me, it's like the perfect matchup. And to see that happening week in and week out, it's really good to see them.
Definitely helps to have them Penske parts.
It does.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, if you want to have parts for Fords, I'd imagine Penske's probably, on its own list of the dominance that Penske usually shows at Phoenix too, especially in the fall. I mean, it's hard to argue.
Mm-hmm.
So still, it's good to see Josh Berry up there at that P4, but still that team has been struggling this year so far. They've done better than they did last year, but at points wise, they're still fairly out. But they made a pretty big gain this week with being able to finish in that top 5. So
they had some unfortunate luck too, like Atlanta and Daytona.
I mean, you could say the same thing about Ty Gibbs too, and he's like 36 in points.
Oh,
well, he run over 2 guys already this year, monster trucked them. I think he did it at Coda, and he did it at Bowman Gray. So
yeah,
is that his career trajectory?
Monster truck, put him in Gravedigger.
Yeah, that is his career trajectory. ARCA, Xfinity, Cup, right there, man, tough.
Oh boy, Chris Buescher, top 5 finish. Buescher's usually historically really good at Phoenix, very consistent. Honestly, a really consistent driver in general. So I mean, he's the best driver at RFK right now. It's hard to deny that. It's Brad Case just not put in the performances, and Ryan Preece is still pretty early. I mean, he looked really good because of those option tires this week, but that's really the only reason that he got to be up where he was at.
I thought for a minute that strategy was going to work in his favor because he was holding those to the last second, and he was flying through the field when he put those options on. And I thought there for a second he had a shot, but didn't work out.
Well, it's like, when have we seen, and this kind of goes back to super thankful for what Goodyear's doing, right? But when was the last time on a short track we saw somebody pass 30 cars just like that? Not even this generation car, but to me, it's been a while. And the fact that they were able to do that, awesome product. Awesome product.
You had William Byron getting in P6. Honestly, probably could have finished better. He had a really good car, top 3 car for sure, and just got shuffled in the back.
What I tell you, Cole? What I tell you, Cole?
You did.
Stats don't lie. He at Phoenix, he always finished, except for the one race he won there. He always finishes worse than he starts. So
can't deny the statistics. But fantastic performance from him. I mean, got Kent an extra point for leading the stage, the first stage point in our all entire competition. He got that for him. So
get every point I can get.
That's right. He's coming out of that hole. Alex Bowman, P7, starting 32nd, drove all the way up. It wasn't one of those things where it was a really good car right off the bat. They had to adjust it a lot. Good pit stops. I mean, they won last year the fastest pit crew. They were really showcased how decent they were at Phoenix. Had old Kyle Busch, P8. A really good race for him. I'm telling you, it's nice to see Kyle Busch in the top 10 again. We just need to see him P1. Maybe Austin will admit that he's not washed after that. P9, we have Zane Smith. A fantastic performance by Zane Smith.
Sure did better than Spire. Good Lord.
Can hope some more.
P10.
Yeah, P10, Chase Elliott was able to get the top 10 somehow.
That was a salvage. He had a horrible day.
He did. I mean, P13 had Logano, and I mean, pretty much Logano's day was ruled by the start of the race. And then I guess maybe him choosing the red tires really put him at the detriment. Maybe he should have held on to them, but
he had to, though, to get track position.
I feel like he had a decent enough car where he could at least marched up a little bit before putting them on.
I don't know. I feel like his hands were tied after the ruling from NASCAR on that. It was hard to pass with those normal tires. It was hard to get anything going. So I think he was hoping for a long run to kind of save him, but he was just trying to salvage a day. And I mean, in all honesty, considering that he got sent all the way to the back, I'll take a P13 as a Logano fan. I'll take a P13 after that, and a stage win too. No, not stage win, P2 and stage 2. So I'll take that too.
I mean, and then I didn't put Ty Dillon on here. I think he ended up finishing top 16, 17 car. Got himself in the foot by speeding, going onto pit road, not coming off, going into pit road, had a fresh set of option tires, and had really good track position.
Yeah, because he was running what, P10?
I don't think he would have won the race, but he would at least maybe got a top 5, which would have been excellent momentum for him. And just small mistakes like that end up burning you. I mean, it really does. And then Catherine Legge, P30. So I'm sure we'll have some discussions about that here in a minute, but there was some drivers that had some major issues. Ryan Blaney had a motor blow up on him towards the end of the race. That car was very much a car that at least would contend for a top 10, 100%. Just didn't have the chance. That motor just let go, which is a rare motor failure by Penske. You don't see a lot of those. Hate it for him because that's going to hurt Blaney's statistics at Phoenix, but that's going to be kind of an asterisk right there because he would have at least got a top 10 and would have continued that streak that he had at Phoenix.
He was running top 5 most of the day.
Yep. So, Blake was very heartbroken by that. I was very broken. Well, I wasn't really heartbroken, but the host bar ended up in the wall.
Or
What? I might have been working at that time. Can y'all kind of go through what happened at that wreck?
trying to remember how that wreck went. I don't remember how it started.
Was that the one with Suarez?
No.
And
no,
it all just kind of
Suarez was when Leg just absolutely just lost it and took him out. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dang.
Hey,
Poor
look, give her
Suarez.
credit. It is very difficult to wheel one of these things in a straight line.
especially when the camera's on you and they're talking about you, they cut right to you. It's even worse.
Which I heard, and I think I saw it on Front Stretch. She was supposed to have raced last week at Coda, but the car preparation went a little south, and they had to postpone it to Phoenix. That's why she ran the ARCA race at Daytona, because for the NASCAR standards, you got to run at least ARCA to be able to run the Cup. Same with what happened with Mr. Castro Neves. I won't say his first name, but
Helio, he says. Helio.
The Brazilian gentleman. And then, but yeah, why they would have, even if your car prep was going slower, why you would have put it at Phoenix.
Okay.
That's,
I have
yeah,
Go
ahead.
something for this.
Go ahead.
They had an interview. She said that the drivers were the one that told her that Phoenix was the track that she should start at.
Well, they are full of you-know-what, because
I don't know what drivers told her this, but that is a terrible pick. She's like, if you go to a place like Martinsville, I'm like, sure, I get that. Martinsville's a hard track. Sure, I get it. But Phoenix, like, put her at the Brickyard. You're running anyways.
yeah,
It would make sense. She may not qualify. I mean, that might be the reason why there might be a couple more option cars. But still, like, Phoenix is a hard track. It's not just a hard track in regards to the banking and the track itself, but the environment of Phoenix is really hard.
well,
It's a very
it's
harsh
also
environment.
it's the oddest oval that you have on the circuit. I like it. I like the track. I think it produces good racing. It's kind of like Darlington. You're not going to have a bad driver win that race.
It's like I said last week, you don't luck into wins at Phoenix.
No, you don't.
I was just going to say, I think my issue with Leg is the system is setting her up to fail.
Yes.
Because, I'm sorry, NASCAR has got to do a better job of making sure that the drivers that come into these races are prepared. You know, I'm sorry, Helio Castroneves should not have been driving in the Daytona 500. He's never driven a stock car a day in his life. I love Helio. I think he has a great personality. He's great for the sport of racing. Like I love him. But I don't think he had any business being in a stock car, because what you run into is Leg about took Barry out of the race.
It took Suarez.
It did take Suarez. So you have these drivers that have no experience in a cup car, no experience in a stock car, and then you're putting them out there in a points race where there's the potential for them to screw up and end the day for drivers that are actually fighting for a playoff spot. That's my issue with it. I don't have an issue with Leg herself. I have an issue with the system that has been created. There needs to be a better way. Race a minimum of this amount of races in this series, or have experience. If Juan Pablo Montoya wants to come back, just keep him away from jet dryers, and I'm okay with that. Like, just bring him back and let him race. You know, guys that have experience in stock cars and stock car racing, let them I'm fine with that. But if all you've known is open wheel or a different type of like IMSA or whatnot, that's not stock car racing. So that's my issue with it. It's the system, not Leg.
At least give him some practice time in this car of some sort, right? Because, like, I get it. You got to race an ARCA car before you race a cup car. But on the other hand, ARC and Cup cars are not apples to apples by any means. You know, it's like,
broccoli and bananas.
yeah,
Well,
it's
and
like
it's-
if you want to play high school baseball, let's make sure you can hit off the tee first, right? That would be like the equivalent. And I'm not trying to bash ARCA. I'm not trying to bash the drivers. They're just not as long in their careers what the Cup guys are, right? But the Cup car is also so sophisticated with the technology, so brand new. It's essentially a sports car mixed in with a stock car. And your ARCA cars are nothing but a stock car. So, yeah, I agree. There does need to be a better system because, like, even going back to, like, the Castro Nevis, Kyle Larson had to qualify in for the Indy 500. As renowned as what Kyle Larson's name is, he still had to go there. He still had to go qualify for their race. Like, it wasn't just a gimme.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I think NASCAR needs to, like y'all said, it just needs to be more difficult. You look at, we had a YouTuber race the ARCA race, right? This past year. I think it needs to be more difficult to make the field for that ARCA race. Now, granted, he actually didn't do too bad. Like, he actually did better than the majority of the folks that are out there. But at the same time, you shouldn't just be able to sign up for an ARCA race and say, I want to run it without any background. That's what makes that series, unfortunately, and it's not, the series isn't a joke. Not all the drivers, you got folks doing it the right way in that series. But what happens is you have a race that can become a joke when you have a lot of folks that have no business being in that race. And I think a lot of people saw that at Daytona. Regarding Legge getting into the Cup Series, it should have required more than just an ARCA race. I think the ARCA race should qualify you for it. Look, some folks go the route of trucks. Some go the route of Xfinity. It's not necessarily the cookie cutter, you do trucks, then Xfinity, then Cup anymore. There are different routes to the Cup Series, but I think you should be able to run ARCA, and then NASCAR make a decision based off of how you, not necessarily how you finished, but look at you and say, is this driver safe? And then say, all right, look, you are cleared to run Xfinity and trucks. And after you do an Xfinity race or a truck race, we'll reevaluate this. And we're just going to, hey, are you safe? Are you going to be a hazard to the other drivers on the track? And if so, then they can say, look, thank you for running that truck race. That's awesome. We've got it noted. You are not ready for the Cup Series. You're not getting a license to go and run Cup. I think it should be, and I think we really hate it when NASCAR makes judgment calls. This is where there needs to be a judgment call.
You look at
written rules.
You look at any other racing series, it's a lot harder to get into these races than it is with NASCAR. Like, NASCAR's like, yeah, come on in. Honestly, though, everybody just comes on in and we let them race. And, she was running so far off pace when Barry came up behind her. And about took him out. A good car, a top 10 car, almost took him out. And I don't think that's acceptable. I think NASCAR has to do better. Like I said, if we got some NASCAR legends that want to race, people who have been a part of the sport or have even raced an Xfinity or truck, they have experience in this type of racing and they want to do that. I have no issue with that. But it's just, or maybe, I don't know, maybe even have select races throughout the year that they can race at. Like, if you want Daytona to be that race, since there's so many open cars, okay, fine. Amen.
Boy.
Yeah, that's funny.
What's the difference? What's the difference in why couldn't Mike Wallace race? And I'm not judging Catherine Legge. Like, she's got good stats in IMSA, made a lot of good starts in IndyCar, but like, if she can race, I respect what she's done. But why couldn't Mike Wallace race?
The storyline itself helped out. Like, Mike Wallace really wasn't going to help the storyline coming into Daytona because you already had so many open drivers that,
the first one to race in NASCAR's Cup Series since Danica.
Yes.
Well, I get it, but you would think to help their own case out, like, at least he's got stock car experience, and especially at Daytona. It's only been 2020 since he's been in a stock car. Granted, that might have been Xfinity Series. I know it's been about 10 since he's raced in Cup, but I think it's been only 4 or 5 since he's been in Xfinity.
Yeah, 2020.
So let's get away from that. Michael McDowell had the fastest lap, due to a strategy call. He came in towards the end of the race and got a fresh set of tires and was able to run the fastest lap. So that got him an extra point, which inspired Michael McDowell. I mean, the whole organization needed after the horrific day that was Phoenix.
Can we talk about them for a second?
Please.
Because I went through the practice times and the qualifying times, and I could not believe how hard they fell off. Spire had 2 in the top 10 of practice, and they had all 3 of their cars in the top 10 of qualifying, and all of their cars, we didn't get to see it translate to the full race. Savard got caught in the wreck. That took him out early. McDowell blew a tire, and after that, he was, for the most part, just not in the race. And then, didn't Haley get caught in a wreck too, I think? So, horrific. Like, great start to the weekend. I mean, top in practice, top in one of the, top, all 3 of your cars are in the top 10 of qualifying, and they just fumbled the bag, like, majorly.
I mean, obviously, just heartbreaking for them. And I don't even think Hosemar would have finished in the top 10. I felt like he was the fastest car out of all of them. Time showed that. But, like, within the first few laps, he was already disappeared. Like, he was, like, not even...
He was gone.
So I feel like this finish with Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell, it's the finish that you would want to see from the other 2 series, but it does have the caveat of it's 2 teammates racing against each other. You do have to think about that. You have Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, both JGR cars. If you take someone like, and I'm not saying Christopher Bell's a dirty driver, because I don't think so. I think Christopher Bell's probably one of the cleanest drivers on the track.
Unless he's racing Kyle Busch. I'm kidding.
Yeah, at Coda specifically. Or, I mean, in general, Martinsville, everybody's like punting everybody out of the way, but I don't consider that dirty racing. That's just Martinsville racing. There's only 1 or 2 ways you're going to pass at Martinsville. This is what I would want to see for racing side by side. Even if they doored each other, I'd be fine with it. But
Question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Did Hamlin go back and retract his in-car audio? Because in his in-car audio, he was livid. He was saying that Bell used him up and doored him, but in his interview post-race, did he... Because I didn't get to see the post-race interview. Did he say anything?
And from what I saw, he seemed chill. He's like, I think he even said, that would have been a little bit more ideal from yesterday. Talking about Saturday, but he said, "Yeah, we just ran out of racetrack."
I mean, I didn't see him use them up at all. I mean, I didn't see much contact.
I think it was a clean way of using them.
I agree. He ran them high.
Yes, I agree with that.
He got tight because he got back into the throttle early. He ran them high off the corner, but he didn't run them into the wall. So, yeah, I mean, on lap 30, you call that using somebody up. At the end of the race, you call that doing what you got to do to go to victory lane.
To be fair, I didn't get to... I had to go to the NASCAR YouTube page and watch the highlights because I go to church in the evenings, so I record the race to watch when I get home. And no lie, the recording stopped right before the green-white checkered. I was so mad.
CW vibes.
Honestly, I was so mad. I was sitting there and I kept clicking the remote to see how much time I had left in the record, and I was like, ain't no way. So I didn't get to see it in depth, but from what I did see, I agree. It was a clean way of using somebody up, and man, if they did connect, Larson was right there.
Yeah, and the way Phoenix is, I mean, you can honestly just zoom by somebody. I mean, you really can. So, all right. So I know Blake wants to talk about this already.
Do I?
So, yeah. So he's a big tire guy. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but I think the racing at Phoenix was subpar for the Cup Series, but the strategy with the tires made up for it. I think the Xfinity Series had better racing in general. You take the finish out of it, I feel like the racing at the track was better. So, and which is weird because Phoenix, historically, to me, I think it's a fantastic racetrack. I think of the championship races and whatnot, all kinds of, but just, even though there was a great finish to it, it just felt like the racing itself was stagnant, almost.
Does the Xfinity Series use the option tire for that? I can't remember.
No,
I didn't think so.
Not.
Okay.
They used a little bit of a softer tire just in general, but I don't know, man. I think Phoenix was a fantastic race. personally.
I didn't say it was a
No, I
horrible
know.
race. I
No,
said
I
it
know.
was.
But I don't know if subpar would be given enough credit, just in my view, because you had tons of passing. And now, granted, you've got a different tire, but I think if they didn't have that tire, they would have raced maybe the way they normally do, and it would have been a little bit better in that sense you're talking about. But because they had this option tire, they knew that, well, if I've got 3 guys behind me that are on this option tire, there's really no need to race them because they're going to go right past me.
Like, let me play devil's advocate for a minute.
That's fine. Yeah.
Is it truly a good race if the different types of tires determine the outcome? You know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's if it's truly a good race, then why is the red and the yellow stickers on the tires? Why is, if it's a good track and a good race, why is that determining the outcome?
Well, I think tires would a lot of time usually determine the outcome anyway.
Yeah, but
because you've got, so say you have good track position, the tires are hard as a rock. It's not like you're going to get past because you got the clean air. So the tires are affecting it in that way, right?
Yeah.
But you look at, say you're at a track that's a little bit more abrasive and you just used your stuff up. That's because the tires are gone and you can't run as well. Somebody else can leapfrog you. So I think, all in all, I mean, at the end of the day, it's the 4 tires that attach the car to the tracks. I think it made it a much better race because you had more passing in general than what you normally have at Phoenix. And I think it added some strategy into it also.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm not either.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the racing itself, by itself, you take the tires out of it, I feel like it was subpar.
First 2 stages were a snooze fest. Honestly, it was Byron in the first stage, and it was Logano for the majority of the second stage until his tires fell off.
And you got to see the people from the back come up with their option tires. Sure, that was cool and all, but you knew that they weren't going to get to the lead with those tires.
Do y'all think if Logano didn't stretch that run as long as he did, do you think there would have been a different outcome with tire strategy? Because Logano was the one who kind of pushed the envelope a little bit of those tires and said, I'm going to run these to the end of the stage and see what happens. Do y'all think that would have changed the outcome of the race if he didn't do that?
I feel so. I mean, he really... and this is the first time that we've ever tried a tire like this at a track like this, and that's the reason NASCAR chose to do this. And it wasn't because they thought the track was subpar racing. It was because they needed a test subject. It's an experiment. That's what it was.
Well, and I think the biggest part that you can take from it is this option tire needs to be the regular tire. With the fall off it has, you can run it really fast for, 40, 50 laps, and then it just went downhill after that. And that's, I think, to me, that's a sweet spot at a track like Phoenix. 40, 50 laps, then you can see who really can drive and who knows how to save their stuff and who knows how to strategize.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and some of these dirt track guys are just good on old tires. The tires get worn out, and they're like, that's fine. In dirt track racing, I got to go find another lane, so I'm just going to go find another lane. They make it work.
I think that's how Logano made his tires last as long as he did. Like, he was able to keep that gap to Hill for a pretty good while. And, everybody knows, Logano, there's a few select guys. Logano's one. Larson can be one. They know how to manage those tires and get the most out of them without, busting them out before you need to hit pit roads. I don't know. I mean, I saw a poll online, or it was on Instagram. Somebody posted a video of the old layout of Phoenix. You know how it used to be. You used to have grass, on the backstretch. A pretty beautiful track. Do y'all miss the old layout?
I mean, it's nostalgic, right? I mean, I think of Jeff Gordon, Ty and Dale Earnhardt, probably one of the better Phoenix races there was until, in my mind, this past weekend. But, for me, you look at it as nostalgia, but I like this layout specifically from fall 2018 on because I think the Dog-Leg comes it's more of a factor, and you're not essentially wasting all that space. I think all that space has a rhyme and reason to it. So I like this layout personally.
I mean, I'm pretty much the same way. I feel like if you go back and you start looking at older races and whatnot, sure, you might like the previous iterations, but you also got to think those are different generations of cars too.
Yeah.
So you got, this next gen car is so finicky with different tracks. So
I think Phoenix got a lot more fun for everyone when Harvick retired.
yeah,
Yeah.
that for sure. Everyone's like, hey, we have a chance now. But yeah, I don't know. It's like we were talking about before you start comparing apples to oranges, broccoli to tomatoes, whatever. It's just, I enjoy watching the racetrack as it is, and I enjoy watching races at the former racetrack.
Mhm.
But it's just, everything's going to innovate after a little while. Most of the time when you're doing innovation and upgrades, you're doing it for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talked about last week, there's a reason why Phoenix is the home of the championship race when it comes to the end of the year. So,
well, and even though they didn't sell out on Sunday, they still had a pretty decent crowd there, I thought.
I'd say about 95% full.
For sure. And you look at where, I think it was Chris Myers and Jamie McMurray were like at the end of stage 1 or so. I've never been to a race there, but it looks like you've got a lot of different sections of fans kind of dispersed throughout like turns 1 through 3. So to me, the who's in the grandstands doesn't always, and they don't have an infield there, right? So you can't look at the infield for the fans.
Well, it's campers on the backstretch.
Yeah.
And camping on the backstretch. Then going into 3 and 4, that's where the grandstands begin. And the grandstands go all the way through most of the Dog-Legge. And then going into turns 1 and 2, it's the hill that everybody camps out on and sits out.
And I will say, I have driven past that track before, though, and there is a lot of camp space there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure overall, I mean, they weren't hurting on fan attendance at all.
it was also really good numbers in regards to the race itself as well, because I mean, it was a lot of viewership. Of course, the option tire and whatnot, that helped out a lot. And to credit where it's due, it was a great race. Like, I was just more or less just kind of surprised about how the tires. I love strategy, and I'll be the first one to tell you I love pit road strategy, green flag stops and whatnot, because that's where everything comes in, your whole team. It just, I don't know, it felt like at certain points, like when Logano made that mistake on that restart. I mean, you could say it's a mistake, you could say it was on NASCAR or whatever you want to say, but when he did that, he pretty much lost that race. There was no coming back after that. So, I mean, that's more or less what I was getting at. It really it's not really that race. It's just more or less, there was a lot more strategy involved, which is good if that's what you enjoy. And based upon the polls that we've seen, it was a fantastic race for most people. It was just, I felt like I wanted to play the other side of the argument, because I felt like the Xfinity race was a lot better to me. I mean, and if the Truck Series was there too, probably the Truck Series would have been like amazing at that track. It'd be very interesting to see.
Trucks is always something when they go there.
I'll say the ARCA race too. I think overall they did a fine job with a quality of race it was.
Well, I mean half the cars were 12 seconds or more off pace.
No, I know, but I'm talking about, like, to me it wasn't as low quality as what you see at Daytona, right? Like, to me, I think you can justify an ARCA race at Phoenix. I don't know that you can justify it at Daytona. We talked about that. I mean, we won't revisit that too much. But I thought overall, considering it's ARCA, I thought it was a pretty decent race, too, even for ARCA.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've talked about everything that needs to be talked about. We got, your finishers and whatnot. It was a good race. Enjoyed it. Really looking forward to Las Vegas this weekend, which that pretty much transitions to where we need to go. We actually have the Truck Series back. I'm excited. I really am. That little hiatus, I'm sure that got the truck drivers a little antsy. So we'll probably see some really good racing, hopefully. At the EcoSave 200, so we have a couple of, I wouldn't consider them open drivers, not all of them, but they're making starts that are not necessarily frequent. The number 1 of Williams Sawalich for Tricon, he'll be making that start. Justin Haley in the 07. I mean, Justin Haley started a lot of truck races this year. Corey Day, that's one that we haven't heard this year, driving the 7 for Spire. Let's see here. We got Luke Finis for Thor Sport in that number 66. And I haven't mentioned Andre Perez de Lara yet for that number 77. He's full time this year, and he's actually a Mexican-based driver. So another one in the sport I love seeing diversity in the sport because that brings so much more fans. The Xfinity race, we have Austin Green making his first start for Jordan Anderson Racing in that number 32 car. And the Pennzoil 400, the Cup Series race, no open drivers at all. Not a one. It's going to be your veterans, your rookies that are frequently on the schedule. So what are some things that you guys are looking for when it comes to Las Vegas this weekend?
Well, I think for the truck races, we've seen Daytona, we've seen Atlanta, and the front row trucks have been fantastic in their speed. I'm going to see if that can translate to 1.5 miles now. I think Chandler Smith is going to obviously be pretty good. I think your caveat that I'm going to look for is Lane Riggs. He's much better this season. You can tell that truck's got a lot more speed than what it had last year. The team's meshing. I'm interested to see how Lane's going to do at a 1.5 mile track.
I think for me, it's just going to be interesting because this is our first true 1.5 miles of the year. You know, you could say Atlanta, but Atlanta is not your stereotypical 1.5 miles like Homestead and Charlotte and Vegas. So it's going to be interesting, I think, to see, you know, how these guys do. And we'll get into the character that Vegas has here in a minute. But I think it's going to be interesting because Vegas is not an easy 1.5 miles. So it's going to be interesting to see how everybody does. And I mean, we get to see it across all series too. So we get to see how who rise to the top and all the series this weekend. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
What about you, Kent? Anything that you want to talk about in regards to Vegas?
No, I don't think y'all left anything really unsaid. I mean, you know, looking at the point standings, sorry, I'm getting caught up with ADD. Anyways, 2 races in, and, you know, it's, yeah, there's a squirrel. Y'all missed it. Again, both are drafting tracks. So, yeah, we kind of, like Austin said, we'll get to kind of see who shows up, who actually means business this year, who's got the best handling trucks, and that sort of thing. So that's going to be.
All right. Well, Austin, is there any squirrels in your room right now? I don't have any.
No, there's one up here, though.
Same. You know, well, let's talk about that squirrel. Let's get it moving in your head. Let's hear what you got to talk about Vegas.
All right, so Vegas, often known as the headline track that brings in 2 NASCAR races a year, but in reality, I didn't realize this until I was researching, but this track is so much more. There are actually multiple tracks that are connected to this facility. There are multiple infield and outfield road courses. There's a separate paved short track oval for like your late models and your bandoleros. There's a dirt course and even a drag strip. For, you know, the fastest cars out there. Get it right, Fox. And so racing started on this plot of land almost 40 years before NASCAR raced there. The road course was the original, and it was created as a means to give people in Vegas something to gamble on, something to bet on. Any takers on this trivia? Who was the first Cup driver to win at Las Vegas Motor Speedway?
That's a good one, Austin.
I know it. I've been looking at these results. We'll be going there in a minute. Yeah, 1998.
That was the year I was born, just for you guys to know. I mean, I obviously was not watching NASCAR in 1998.
It was the year after I was born, so I'm sure I was watching.
Give a
I know it all.
maybe
but
a
I forgot
milestone. Maybe a milestone of this person's career. They have one.
Is he a greatest to never?
Say runner up. So championship. Mark Martin?
Yep.
Wow.
Mark Martin was the first to ever win here. As far as track specs go, it's a very basic 1.5 miles at first glance. The front stretch has banking at 9 degrees, which you'll see frequently as they approach the tri-oval to hit the finish line. They're going to dip down below that white line onto the apron, get on that flat stretch, and then come back up onto the banking, rejoin just before entering turn 1. Turns 1 and 2 are 20 degrees in banking. The track went through a reconfiguration back in 2006. And they updated the track with progressive banking. If you go back and watch some of the older races at Vegas prior to 2006, the banking was only 12 degrees. So they bumped it up to 20 degrees. Turns 1 and 2 are super tricky because if you want to run the lower line, you are going to deal with some pretty serious bumps. They're going to rock you. They're going to rock your car. It's going to be difficult for drivers to communicate to their crew chiefs with what's really going on in the car because turns 1 and 2 are so bumpy. So what you'll notice is later into the runs, the drivers are going to try to avoid these bumps and then move up the track trying to run different lanes. Then they enter the backstretch, which has some banking as well, but it's relatively problem free. And then they head into turns 3 and 4, which are also at 20 degrees. So turns 3 and 4, they're not as bumpy as 1 and 2. The preferred lane will be at the bottom, right by the white line at the start of the race. But as the rubber is laid on the track, what you'll notice is drivers are going to try to move around on the track to find the lane that better works for them as they progress through their run. The fun thing about this track is that the spring race will look nothing like the fall. Spring race is going to have cooler temperatures. It's going to be a lot nicer weather. There's going to be a lot more grip on the track. In the fall, when we revisit this later in the fall, these cars are going to be slipping and sliding all over the place because it is significantly warmer, close to 90 degrees, even in October in Las Vegas. So that's going to be something to look at and to compare. This race is probably going to have a lot more cooler temperatures and a lot more grip for the drivers. The challenging places on this track is going to be turn 1, dealing with the bumps, and then coming off of turn 4. If you're in a multi-car pack, coming off turn 4, going into the tri-oval, that's an often trouble spot. People get used up. They get ran into the wall. We saw that a few years ago with Bubba and Larson and the whole debacle that came from that. But I'm not going to steal Blake's thunder here in a minute, but tire wear is going to play, I think, a significant factor at this track because this track has not been through a repave since 07. So Blake will get his turn in a minute, but I'm going to hand it over to Kent to let him handle this segment.
Yeah, well, you took it with your trivia about Mark Martin. So, Blake, no, I'm just kidding.
He said, I'm not prepared at all.
No. So, I got to looking at this and you know, we cover a little bit of nostalgia here too. So, we're familiar with the term DNQ, did not qualify. And so, how many cars would y'all like to guess DNQ'd for this race?
First ever?
The first race?
That's right. The first race of the race that Mark Martin won. How many cars are y'all saying DNQ'd?
I'll say 9.
I'll say 8.
12.
It was 8.
Nice.
Way to go, Austin. So here are some of those. I just love hearing some of these names. It's been a while since you've heard some of these. Tony Raines.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think about Tony Raines. I think of it. Well, he ran like the Direct TV or something like that later
96 DLP.
DLP. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Was that Troy Aikman's car, the Hall of Fame racing?
It might have been.
Might have been.
I bet you look it up. Well, I can't stay on this thing.
I will.
There you go. Well, you look that up. So Gary Bradbury, Jerry Nadeau. Now, I remember Jerry Nadeau.
That's a name. That's a
That
name.
is a name. Y'all remember? So this is him.
Car?
Well, he was driving the 13 car for Elliott Marino Racing. But he eventually, correct me if I'm wrong, he drove the 5 for a little while for Hendrick Motorsports around 2001, right in that area. So, and then Todd Bodine in the 35. This one jumped off the page at me. This is one of those that had the charter system been around back then. This one's in the race. But rookie Steve Park in the number 1 DEI car. And then Dave Marcus, Larry Gunzelman, and Butch Gilliland. Some awesome racing names that missed the field for this one. When was the last time that we had 8 guys show up and go home? They didn't. 51 cars attempt to make this race. Absolutely crazy. And I just, I love looking through here. I love hearing these old names. I love looking at the sponsors, the teams, all of this that goes into it. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. That's just one of those things that I love looking at, and especially seeing an era of the sport where people were so excited to try to make this race, try to get into this race, that you had people show up when they knew 8 of us got to leave here, especially for it to be a West Coast race. That was not going to be a very, inexpensive trip. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, I'm hoping NASCAR can kind of get back to that direction, right? I think that's what they're trying to do with this new car is make it easier for teams to get into team ownership and, getting onto the track. But I don't know. I think the charter kind of messes that up because 36 spots are already accounted for. You're never going to have more than really 8 other cars show up to vie for those 4 spots, I think. And so, anyways, and
Unless you just create more charters.
Unless you create more charters. Do you think that'll happen?
I think if NASCAR sells a bit of their shares, they could get up to 40 because I think they've got 4 reserved for. Now, the way the way that I've seen is like if they just up and wanted to start their own team, they've got 4 charters reserved. Why that's the case, I have no idea, but I do.
It's like, all right, that's not a conflict of interest at all.
No, not at all.
NASCAR running in NASCAR.
Yeah. So I think that could happen. I wouldn't put it past them, but I don't know. I don't foresee it in the immediate future.
Personally, I like how Vegas has transformed over the years. It used to be back in the old gen, beginning of the last gen, and Car of Tomorrow. It was a snooze fest for the most part. Not really an interesting race at all to watch, but with this next gen car, it's really revived Vegas. I mean, we've had some good races, memorable moments. Yeah, really, really interesting. Plus my driver does well there, so I like Vegas. So,
especially in the fall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Vegas is that important race because it's that first race before the championship. So, that first race of the round of 8. So if you win that, you've got 2 weeks to pretty much.
Is it still the first race this year for the round of 8?
I know it was last year. I'll check.
Because they did do some alterations to the schedule this year.
They did. Let me check
So,
here.
and listen to this statistic. This is just crazy to think that,
it is.
So it is that first race still in the round of 8.
Yep.
So, and it's crazy to think that, how far away we are removed from this being the reality. There's a team that had 5 drivers finish in the top 10. Do y'all know what team I'm talking about?
Roush.
It just blows my mind. And then you look at the drivers. Add Little in the 97. That John Deere car.
John Deere.
I've actually got one of those John Deere cars laying around somewhere. And, Ted Musgrave in that 16 car. Then Johnny Benson Jr. in the 26, Jeff Burton in the 99, Mark Martin in the 6. Roush Racing used to be on top of the world.
Was that the Excite 99 Jeff Burton car?
Yeah, that would have been. It doesn't
16.
have the. Yeah.
That's
one of the best. Didn't Harrison Burton do a throwback to that recently?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
just
so.
Gorgeous car. So, anyways, but no, that's, I don't know. When you think of nostalgic things, it doesn't get much more nostalgic than Roush having 5 guys finish in the top 10 in one race. Like, that's just, now it's like, man, I hope they piece together 5 top 10s this year.
Yeah. I was about to
Well,
say,
go ahead.
I was going to say, that's vintage. That's what that is now.
Vintage, yes.
Antique, maybe. Go ahead, Blake.
Well, I mean, the way Roush was at Vegas is how you think of Hendrick at Martinsville in the Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon eras, man. I mean, especially there, like 2013, Jimmy's winning, Jeff's winning, Dale Jr. wins, and then Gordon rides off into the sunset. But then in 7, the awesome battles, 08.
Just another salute to Matt Kenseth taking one for the team in 2015.
That's right.
Attaboy. Attaboy.
The crowd was on your side.
So much respect for Matt Kenseth that day. He did the Lord's work.
That's right.
What a man.
Divine intervention.
Absolutely. It was nothing other than an act of God. It was predestined according to the will of God.
He's like the prophet Isaiah. Here I am, Lord, send me. And I'll send Logano.
He sent him. He sent him, baby. That
Isaiah
was awesome.
6, baby.
I'm dead.
Forgive me, Lord.
Goodness. All right, Blake, go ahead and hit us with, you know what? I never know what you're going to talk about with your segment, so hit us with whatever randomest you're going to talk about.
I'll keep it on the tires. So with the tires, like like y'all said, the repave, it's been a while since it's been repaved, so the track's got tons of character. Biggest thing, the right sides fall off pretty well here, but I think what NASCAR struggled with in the past is our right sides can fall off a little bit, but the left sides still could run like 5,000 miles, right? And so what the specific tire notes are for this weekend is that Goodyear is really trying to hone in on the left side tires and trying to bring a much softer tire for the left side. So if you're kind of new to racing, let me explain. So obviously you're going in circles and you're turning left a lot, but especially on the banking in the corners, that really puts a lot of pressure on your right side tires and makes them work really hard the way that the car runs. So your right sides go out quicker than your lefts. So instead of just having your right sides that you might struggle with, also having the left sides going out quicker and falling off better, that's going to produce a lot more. It's going to put it back in the driver's hands where they might have to manage their equipment more. They got to be a little bit mindful of, all right, should I let this guy go and I can catch him later? We'll see. I think the aero package at a 1.5 mile track now, I think the clean air is going to mean more than the tires will personally, but the storyline on the tires is going to, be how well the left sides wear out.
I wonder if they can get the left sides to wear out more, how much more that's going to impact going into turn 1 and 2. Because turn 1 and 2 is going to be a nightmare if there's a fall off on the left sides.
For sure. Well, and because if your right sides are only wearing out, if you're running the low line, your right front tire takes the beating. But if you're running the high line, your right rear takes the beating. And so, yeah, I mean, if those can fall off more, to me, I think logically you'd have a lot more. Well, you have some drivers running inside. You might have some running the middle. You might have some running the top, trying to save the tires in their respective ways. So it'll be interesting to see if they can. I hope they can make the left sides wear out really well, but we'll see. That's going to be the main storyline for the tires this weekend.
Blake, I have a question.
All right.
Is there going to be rain tires this weekend?
No rain tires for 1.5 miles.
What's the
Are
weather?
you sure about that?
68. So
Cloudy? Sunny?
I saw sunny.
Yeah, 68 and sunny. So
Nice.
yeah, so it'll be cooler, like Austin said. So your track times will be a little bit quicker because it's cooler. But if it's cooler and they're going faster, maybe they'll wear more.
It might very much be, how we were talking about. We said the fall is where they're more, back and forth grip wise. It might be that tire change might equal out where it might be just like the fall race.
Yeah, it could be, because in the fall, I mean, like I said, it is hot and slick, no grip. In the spring, it's cooler, but we'll see. Yeah, you're right. I think it could be a little bit more of an equalizer.
And then when we get down the road, I'll be interested to see what they do for the tires when it gets down to when it's hot and slick. They might have to go back on what they did. So
we'll see.
I read the average temperature in October for Vegas is like 83 to 85. So translate that to on-track temperature, that's pretty toasty.
Yeah, you're looking about 120.
Mm-hmm. Like it. All right, so from the fan experience side, I looked up a few things. There's actually a pre-race concert right before the race. The Wedge Brothers, which are a local rock band for Las Vegas, they've been together for 30 years, and they have a special guest with them, Kelly Shea. They're going to be doing a concert before the race. That's usually a pretty predominant thing with most racetracks you go to, especially big events like Daytona, Talladega. They usually have either some local artists or some, not necessarily like superb artists right off the top of your head. Like this year, they had Pitbull for the Daytona race, which, I mean, I would say that would be one that you'd be like, oh, I've heard of Pitbull before, But they're more of a local band, but it's really cool to see them supporting, local bands and whatnot at the racetrack. So
yeah, I think it definitely helps out with the casual fan, right?
Exactly.
Because I think in their mind, it's going to be like you're going to have a huge event, and there's just going to so happen to be a race there, right? But hey, the more whatever you can do to draw people in, the better, for sure.
Exactly. I mean, if you're a fan of NASCAR, the fan zone is where you're going to be most driven in, because that's where you're going to find your merch. That's where you're going to find your driver's appearances. That's where you're going to find all kinds of free stuff. I mean, the fan zone's the place to be regardless of what track you go to, and almost every track's going to have one. So, Callie Tucker, country artist, will be singing the national anthem before the Sunday race, and we'll have flyover by the Thunderbirds, and they always do a great job. Chelsea Green, current WWE Women's USA Women's Champion, will drive the pace car on the initial start.
You said it. You said it wrong. It's Chelsea Green.
Can you say it a little bit louder
No,
in the microphone?
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, I don't watch much wrestling concurrently anymore. I usually watch the highlights and whatnot, but, just seeing John Cena go heel is kind of crazy to me. It feels like an out-of-body experience. And then there's actually a live auction on Sunday. Jamie Little and Alex Bowman will be making an appearance. They'll be discussing, I guess, the current season so far from 8 to 9 a.m. that Sunday. And the tickets are sold at the gate, or you can get those online. So the auctions will probably have a lot of race memorabilia and whatnot. So if you like that kind of stuff, that will be available. But, of course, go to the fan zone, meet some of the drivers, especially if you're a casual fan. Meeting drivers is probably the best way to find your favorite driver, in my honest opinion. Because you can choose people based upon how they end up at the track, but sometimes when you actually meet that driver, it can be kind of a disappointment. And I don't mean that in a mean way. That's just, or if you're even able to meet your driver. I mean, there's, meeting Dale Senior, I'm sure was rough, but Dale Jr., especially during like the Car Tomorrow era, past that, I mean, it's like waves of people. So Blake got to give him a high five once at Daytona.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, we got those infield passes, and we were actually on the right off the tri-oval, and they were in all the pickup trucks, and yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Blake's like, I'll never wash my hand again, and that's the reason why he's sick all the time now. So.
Hey, so speaking of meeting your favorite driver, when I met Jeff Gordon, it was the one time that there wasn't a Sharpie anywhere within a square mile. I mean, it was awful. But I'll say this. So as a kid, I was like 8 years old. Jeff went out of his way. He didn't have to come over and talk to me or anything. Went out of his way to walk up to me, take the hat out of my hand. Hey, bud, where's the Sharpie? Don't have a Sharpie. Oh, I'm sorry. Handed the hat back, shook my hand. And I was like, and I haven't washed my hand in 20 years now, so I'm hanging it. I'm hanging in there.
What you don't see is Kent's hand, the other hand, has completely fell off. He's got a prosthetic hand now. It rotted off.
One has its own biosphere just hanging out right here.
And I will say, if you hate a driver and you meet him at the track, you might end up liking him more.
Like Osavar.
Yeah, I mean, that's happened with me, and I think that can do a lot of good too.
That's why I like Osavar, because I mean, we're standing there, we're on pit road by the fences, and he's walking like he's going away, and he's got long legs too, so he's moving fast.
He's scooting,
He's
boy.
scooting, and so we hollered for him to come back, and especially this little boy yelled for Osavar, it's like Osavar. He stopped in his tracks, turned around, went, signed that kid's autograph, got mine, and I think Blake's, and talked to us for a minute, and then went on back his way. And he didn't have to do that. I'm still mad that I didn't get Michael McDowell's autograph after I talked up Loves so much.
We love Loves.
We love Loves. Goodness.
I told him it was the only place I went number 2, and he still didn't turn around. He laughed at it, though.
Oh, gosh. All right, boys. Well, talking about number 2, we're going to talk about our spicy takes. I mean, we had a couple of ones that deserved to be in the number 2 bowl, including Blake's, which he was half right.
I was about to say, I was half right.
Briscoe got out of the hole, but it wasn't because he won. It's because NASCAR said, 100 points is kind of, a lot, especially since we just didn't suspend Cedric and we took 50 points away from him.
Yeah, especially because you screwed up that one this week. We might as well make up for it.
I would love to talk about it, but it's just, I feel like Kyle Busch pretty much put it in perspective for me. There needs to be a rule, written, concrete, so it's not gray area, it's black and white. If you right hook somebody, it ends up being whatever it is. Because, I mean, that's the best way that you can go about it. And that way, you can't sit here and be like, you can't argue, Bubba Larson compared to this, Ty Dillon and Austin Cindric, or any other suspension.
Or even if you just put it under reckless driving, I mean, a right hook is a right hook.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah.
Like I said, we ain't gonna get into it. We're already pretty. I see Austin sweating over there. We're almost at 2 hours. So Briscoe did get out of the hole. So Blake's we'll give him half credit.
Appreciate it.
Austin, though, ding ding, winner, chicken dinner. Bill did 3-peat. You're probably quad-peat this weekend. That's what Kent's already made a graphic up for our social media. We're ready to go, boy. I said Kyle Busch was going to win. That obviously didn't happen, but he did have a top 10, which I was very surprised about. I can't really think of. I know Busch was really good in Phoenix, for a long time, but in this new car, it's been a struggle bus in general. So, and Kent was not here for a spicy take last week, so we'll just say he got his because he didn't have one. That work for you guys?
Yeah, that works for me.
It works, man.
What's your spicy take this week, Kent? Start with you.
All right, so I looked at some of the statistics from the fall race, and I hope that I don't eat these words, but it's a spicy take for a reason. I wanted to look at the outside top 30 in points and say who's the most likely to run top 10 this weekend. And so I'm gonna go Noah Gragson.
Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah. Give me Noah Gragson to run top 10. He did in the fall, but he has since changed teams. The team he is racing for now finished out, both drivers last year finished outside the top 20 in the fall race. So, I just think there's something about going to your hometown track. I think that he's going to run well. It's going to get more effort out of him. I think that he's probably, he's not on a hot seat. There's no hot seat for Noah Gragson. Not right now. Nothing. So don't even get that into your head. But he's going to put himself on a hot seat, right? Like he's thinking to himself, I've got to start getting results. I've got to start doing this. I think he goes and has a great day at Vegas. So give me Noah Gragson to finish in the top 10.
He's got good momentum, too. I mean, he's had really good finishes here lately. I mean, Cole Custer's been in the same boat with him. I mean, points-wise, he's not doing very fantastic either. So, been a struggle for them on the Cup level, but on the Xfinity level, they've been fantastic this year so far. So, all right, Blake, let's hear it.
Let's see. I will say that Las Vegas begins Daniel Suarez's turn for the better. I think this is where Suarez, I think they regroup. He's got a great crew chief. I think Matt, what is that? Swiderski. This dude, I think, used to work for Tesla. So the guy's a genius. And I think Suarez has just had some bad luck. And I think he turns it around this weekend. Well, I'll say he gets a top 10.
So, for all you listeners, if you work at Tesla, somehow you're just a genius by standards.
Well, I think he worked on the rockets.
You could have led with that.
Well,
he worked at Tesla. So
I just remembered that. I think he worked on the rockets. So,
well, and those have a very, very, very good track record the past few months too.
Well, depends on what you believe on the moon landing.
The moon isn't real, people. Anyways,
to quote Colt, what moon?
You sheep.
It's just a place.
How do we know it's the moon? We've never seen the other side of it.
Boy. Oh gosh, Austin, what's your spicy take other than that?
I think the pole sitter finishes outside the top 15. Average finishing position of the pole sitter is around 16th or 17th. So I'm gonna call. I'm gonna be bold and say that the pole sitter will finish outside the top 15.
Is that bold then? If that's the average, is that really?
I mean,
devil's advocate here,
Yeah, I mean,
let's
you have
be
your
bolder.
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 Go 25.
I'm not going to go top. No, not top 20. I'm not going to go against the average. Bolder take. There'll be less than 5 cautions in the race, excluding stage wins or stages. So 5 cautions outside of stage cautions. Less than 5. So
2019 went caution free. You only had your 2 stages, and that was it. So it's not unheard of.
Let's say that Ryan Preece gets the top 5. I know the momentum's not necessarily been his way, but if you guys remember back in the truck series, he did really well at Las Vegas. He's actually one of the top 5, I think, at Las Vegas in trucks. I feel like RFK struggled so far this year, so I feel like if there's going to be one that leads the charge other than Busher, it's going to be him. I don't see Brad really getting close to a win till we get to like a Darlington or something. We get to a little racers racetrack. I feel like that's going to be more or less a style, which Priest did pretty good at Darlington in the past too. But I feel like it's time for Priest to show Kroger what it is to be a Kroger partner and end up in that top 5. So that's my guess. All right. So I'm going to head this off to Austin, pass the baton, so we can take care of this points thing, and we'll head on.
Yes, sir. So this week we will start with trucks. We have not done trucks since Atlanta. And the results of that was Blake finished first, I finished second, Cole finished third, and then Kent finished at the bottom. So Kent, you have first pick for Vegas. You cannot pick Frankie or Heim. Who are you looking at for the truck race for Vegas?
Oh, I'm just gonna try to pick safe. Give me the points leader. Give me Grant Enfinger.
That's also your championship pick as well. Could get a double there. All right. So, Cole, you are up next. You cannot pick Ben Rhodes or Michael McDowell, which thankfully he's not in this race, so you don't have to worry about that. So just Ben Rhodes, and you can't pick Enfinger. Who you thinking?
I'm going to take the guy that has the average finishing position of P1 in all the races that he's run in the truck series at Las Vegas. Give me Chandler Smith.
Ooh.
Because he's only run one race.
Myself, I go next. I cannot pick Justin Haley or Chandler Smith. Unfortunately, Haley is running this race. See, is this person racing this race? Give me Tyler Ankrum.
Good pick. He's really good at Las Vegas. I think he's in the top 8 average finishes.
I don't know. I just feel like he's due. I feel like he's due.
He is very much due. He's had a rough go.
Yeah, he usually does pretty good. I want to go Rajah, but I just don't know if he repeats. All right. Balake, you have the next pick, and you are in luck, my friend. The only people you can't pick are Enfinger, Chandler Smith, and Tyler Ankrum.
You got the whole field.
Because McDowell and Kyle Busch are not racing in this race.
Yeah. Give me Heim.
Yeah, you're stupid if you don't take Heim.
Yeah.
In that position.
Especially a 4th pick.
Yeah, I want to save lane for the short tracks. So yeah, give me Heim.
To recap where we are on the points, I'm currently leading the regular season standings through 2 races. At 7 points, Blake has 5, Cole has 4, and Kent has 4. So they're both tied for last place. But we get back to back.
Come at me.
We got back to back truck races. Is Martinsville after Homestead or?
Yes, it is.
So we get several back to back races of the truck race.
Yeah, so for trucks, you got Vegas, Homestead, and Martinsville. So yeah, three straight weekends.
Sweet.
That's what we like to see.
Yeah.
Amen. All right, so I forgot to color code these, but I believe I have them in the right order. So for the Xfinity Series this past weekend, Blake took home the crown with Bowman, finishing in P2, and I forgot to put down the positions of everybody else. I know my guy finished last, and then we had Love and Allgaier kind of racing right there.
P5 for Allgaier, and Jesse Love was P.
Okay. Thank you for telling me that, so I can put that in there and switch up the order. So Blake finished first with Bowman, Kent finished second with Allgaier in P5, Cole finished third with Love in P9, and then I finished last with Creed. I'm still upset about that. Anyway, we race on. Looking at Vegas, the people that I cannot pick, if my computer would stop being so slow, Jed Burton, Eric Almirola, and Connor Zilich. Actually, Almirola, Zilich, and Creed. I like those. Man, this is hard. I didn't really have any guy in mind really kind of going into this, but I think I am going to go. Give me Jesse Love. I think I'm gonna give him a chance.
He's got an average finish there of 11th place, so not a terrible driver for sure.
Yeah, it's just none of the current drivers really are that great at racing at Vegas. They all seem to struggle. I don't know. Maybe it may not be a good pick, but we'll see what happens. Next up is Cole. You picked Jesse Love.
Oh my gosh.
You picked Jesse Love. last week. So you cannot pick a Jeb Burton, Jesse Love, or Sam Mayer.
So, obviously, when you think of the Xfinity Series at Las Vegas, I think of people like Noah Gregerson, Ty Gibbs, Chandler Smith. They were all fantastic. Obviously, they don't race there anymore. The only person that's left in the top 5 of best finishes is Justin Allgaier. So, I will take Allgaier this week.
Can't argue with that. I kind of just wanted to save him for
That's fair.
moving forward. And hope he wins because that's my championship prediction.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kent, you are up next, my friend. Getting back out of the, stringing together some good finishes here with the Xfinity. Let's see. You cannot pick Allgaier, Love, or Byron.
All right. I trust the speed from JGR at these 1.5-mile tracks. So give me Eric Almirola.
Blake's like, dadgummit.
So, back-to-back weeks, huh?
Yeah, I'll go Eric to get it back to back. And you look at historically, the drivers who drive these one-off cars for Joe Gibbs, they get some incredible equipment to go and do it. And so, yeah, I think Almirola just shows up in one of those cars that can't be really touched. And it's more so about who do I trust to go out there and run up front. Like y'all mentioned, these aren't really guys we think of being your conventional intermediate track stars. Someone's going to have to shine through, but I think experience and a really good car will do it.
I mean, we know that he's not above putting someone in the wall, run him into the fence to win. So,
Amen.
it's what you need.
All right. So Blake, my friend, you are up next. You cannot pick Bowman, Hill, or Chastain, as well as the drivers that have already been mentioned.
Let's see. Give Carson Quaffle.
All right.
Carson Quaffle. Will
Interesting.
I'll say that the one that, if I had a later pick, Corey Haim's running the 26 car this weekend, so that would have been a good pick for 4th place. But
Well, no, Dean, you talking about for Xfinity?
Yeah.
I
looked up the entry list.
I've got the entry list here too.
Maybe it's probably last year's Xfinity list, actually, because I think Haim ran at Las Vegas last year. So
Yeah,
I
because
think that's what it was.
26 is Dean Thompson this year.
Dang, you should go with Dean Thompson then.
No.
He said I'm good on that one.
Yeah.
All right. So just to kind of recap our standings, there are three. Y'all have your championship predictions locked in. Cole with Zilich, Kent with Love, Blake with Hill. I'm still waiting on mine with Justin Allgaier. So far, me and Blake are tied for first place with 11 points. Cole is third with 10 points, and Kent is eighth, but working his way up. So we and our guest picker last week, Brett, he picked Jesse Love, so he got a P9 finish with that one. So moving to Cup, obviously we don't pick these until after qualifying because we actually play for real stuff for this one. But just to kind of recap, last week I finished first. This past week, back-to-back weeks, winning, having Busher finish. I was getting really nervous, but there at the end, he pulled out a good finish for me. Kent came in second with Byron. Blake, unfortunately, Blaney had his issues, and then Cole finished in dead last with Hocevar getting involved in that kerfuffle at the beginning of the race. Championship predictions, no other drivers have locked in their championship yet because Bell keeps winning races, which is fine by me because that's my championship pick. But regular season standings, so far I'm leading with 12 points. Blake and Cole are tied for second at 10, and then Kent, he's sneaking back into it. He's within striking distance.
Nice.
With 9 points, and as Cole mentioned earlier, Kent is the first one to get a stage win, which put him having the same amount of points as I did. So props to Kent for doing that, and props to our guest picker last week, Brett, for picking Christopher Bell to win. He was correct with the P1 finish from Bell this past weekend. So looking ahead to this week at Vegas, guys, who are some people that you are considering, you're looking at? Obviously, qualifying and practice and all that gives us a big picture. But Cole, you're picking first. Who you eyeing? You got free reign aside from Blaney, Chastain, and Hocevar. So who you thinking?
So your mind thinks to pick like Logano, because Logano's historically really good at Las Vegas. He's won both races. I believe he's won the spring and the fall race. It's hard to pick against him, but I have a odd feeling that Ross Chastain's going to be really, really, really good this week. He runs really well at Las Vegas. One of the guys that You would think that's kind of the undercover dogs on the track when it comes to tracks like Las Vegas, but looking really forward to seeing what Ross Chastain does. But I mean, depending on how qualifying goes, but if Logano's anywhere close to what Logano usually is, it would be almost horrific not to pick him for, the first pick.
It's fair. Blake, you'll be picking next, and the only people that you can't pick are Brad Keselowski, Shane Van Gisbergen, and Blaney. Who are you eyeing going into Vegas?
Barry had a really good run at Phoenix this past week, and Barry also has a win in the Xfinity Series out in Vegas, and another one of those tracks that bad drivers definitely don't win at. Let's see if Wood Brothers can keep their momentum going. I'm going to be looking to see how he does.
Interesting pick there. Hint, you're picking third this week. The only people that are off of your pick list are Byron, Larson, and Logano. So who are you eyeing going into this week at Vegas?
That second guy you said I couldn't pick. But no, just looking at some of these guys, I'll give you two names. The first one, because you can't count out Penske here, Blaney. I could see Blaney having a big bounce back weekend after losing the motor last week. And then another one, I don't know, I just got a feeling, Kyle Busch. I think Kyle Busch, again, hometown guy. A few weeks ago at Coda, I said that he was going to show that he's got more in the tank. I didn't say he would win. I said he's going to show he's got more in the tank. And he proved me right. He ran a really good race. He wasn't going to be able to hold off Bell on the tires that he had, that sort of thing. But I think he continues to do that. So I think Kyle could win this thing.
I think he's got like top 6 finishes right now in Cup for Vegas. So it's a good pick.
I think for myself, looking at this week, I can't pick Cindric, Reddick, or Buescher, and I am perfectly okay with that. Honestly, if this might be the first week I pick a Hendrick driver, depending on how the cards fall. I'm looking at 3 guys that are all Hendrick drivers. Byron is someone I'm considering. I mean, he's never finished lower than 13th at Vegas, at least since the next gen era has dropped. I'm looking at Larson. He has the most laps led at Vegas. I don't think he'll fall to me, but if he does, you best believe I'm picking him up. And, if both of those options are off the table, I'm honestly considering Bowman. Bowman's got to win there. Bowman knows how to win there. He's not the best, historically there. But yeah, I'm looking at Hendrick drivers this week. Hendrick knows how to perform here. And I know I'm not getting Logano because if he qualifies decently, I know that Cole is snatching him up. But yeah, I'm looking at Hendrick drivers this week. I think they have the track record of running well here and finishing well here. So sometimes it's not even about winning. Having your guy win the race. It's just finishing ahead of everybody else. So but I love how this past week we did this, and none of us picked who we talked about on the pod. I think except for me, I talked about Buescher. I think, and I think I was the only one who went with that. I just think it's funny.
But, I mean, you also have to look at the practice times of qualifying really didn't reflect what we thought initially. And on top of that, you had the 4th pick this week, which I feel like is the best pick that you can have. And it's not because, you have the best drivers available. You're trying to choose the best value of what you can get out of the 4th place. That's what it comes down to.
And I looked at the statistics with Buescher, and he always does fairly decent. He doesn't race well. But what he did is he was able to, that option tire at the end allowed him to make a big jump to the front and just barely beat out Byron. So you're right. I mean, it just, we make our judgments based off of practice and qualifying. And, I find it funny how sometimes the person who wins again the next week because of the choices available.
And then you also have to look about, what tracks you got coming up. Because, I mean, I would consider picking Reddick, Coda, if it dropped to me. But, I mean, when you have Homestead coming up, I mean, you want to have Reddick. I mean, him or Larson. I mean, it's tough. But then if you start getting in your head about looking too far ahead, then you kind of screw yourself over for the short game. So it's a really hard time trying to
it's a hard balance.
Choose between 2. So,
yep, that's all we got.
We're heading off. It's been a long podcast. Thank you guys for listening once again. And, enjoy the racing at Vegas. Next week, we're going to be enjoying some nice racing. I'm really looking forward to the week that is next week. We'll see you guys. Take care. Peace out. Love. And chicken grease.